Marcelo Mayer on the trading block this offseason? Find out more on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's free. So make sure you tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit 5-h-e-win.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the show. I am joined by Tom Carroll from WEEI. If you tuned into the show yesterday, part one of my conversation with him aired then, so make sure that you go back and listen to that if you haven't already. But now we have part two of my conversation with Tom. Enjoy that. You kind of look at, his buddies and Christian Campbell and Marcelo Mayer, and, the situation is going to be interesting with them too, because I know there have been people who have expressed concerns about Marcelo Mayer's injury history over the last couple seasons and whether he's going to be able to stay healthy. And I know there are people playing around with the idea of maybe moving him in the offseason for pitching because there are injury concerns there with him. But the Red Sox have invested so much time in wanting him to be part of the future of what this franchise is about that I'm not really convinced that that's something they'll really be open to.
Yeah, I think it's sort of wait and see again. I know that's not like the fun thing to say, but we've been saying it a lot. But it's just the reality of the situation. The guy's injured. It's an injury that is going to, have him out the rest of the year here, and we'll see how it impacts the beginning of next season. He's a guy that has never in his baseball career been able to play late into a season because of injuries. Part of the reason why he fell in the draft, not too far, but far enough where the Red Sox were able to pick him was because of that injury concern. So, yeah, it's really an interesting thing to think about, especially when you give Campbell the extension and he's playing second base for you. And you're like, okay, is Campbell the second baseman? And then where does Mayer fit in? Because you'd think, okay, he's going to be at short or third. But now Campbell is showing that he can play first. So maybe Mayer's going to be your sort of guy at second base moving forward. So I think the fact that he has infield flexibility is something that is super, super important moving forward for him, and is probably going to be one of the reasons why they want to hold on to him as opposed to move on. Because look, Bregman, I think he's fantastic, and I hope that they are able to, re-up this deal for next year and the year after and keep moving forward here. But like the reality of the situation is Bregman can leave after this year.
Yep.
So like, with how he's been playing too, and I know there's been a little bit of a dip of late, but the body of work, he probably could feasibly get himself an even bigger payday this offseason if he does opt out and sort of look elsewhere or try to, negotiate something here in Boston. So Mayer's sort of insurance for that right now. So again, it's back to that wait and see, like what's going to happen with Bregman, and then does that dictate what goes on with Mayer. I'm also the type of guy that is okay moving young players for proven talent. Like,
yeah, me too.
They had to move Kyle Teal to get Garrett Crochet. If it comes down to moving Marcelo Mayer to get a guy like Joe Ryan, like I would have made that deal. The thing at the deadline that was different there was that it was Mayer plus. It wasn't just Mayer for Ryan. If it was Mayer for Ryan, I would have driven him to the airport.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what it was. But in the offseason, when the price is different, maybe that's the way that they can sort of move things around. So it's going to be interesting to watch that.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the Bregman situation too, because obviously there's a question mark there whether he opts out or he decides to opt in. And, he has been overall, like you said, having a good season for the Red Sox. Obviously, dealt with an injury for a bit, but came back and, post injury was still playing at a really high level. Like you said, obviously a little bit of a dip in productivity as of late. I don't expect that to last. I think he's going to get back on track. But I just think the leadership and mentorship that he provides is the most important thing that Bregman brings to the table here, because with a lot of young players on this Red Sox team, you have a guy in Alex Bregman who's an experienced winner, and you can tell that a lot of the young players have really looked to him, and he's been able to be really helpful with giving them advice on certain things. So I do feel like, obviously, his production on the field kind of goes without saying, especially defensively, but I just think off the field and the value that he provides in that way, it would really hurt for them to lose a guy like that in the clubhouse who has really been able to serve as a good mentor for some of these younger players. So I do think if he decides to opt out, the Red Sox still need to be aggressive in the mix of trying to rework a contract with him to ensure that he's here, because I just feel like he's so valuable in what he can bring to the table for the young talent on a team like this Red Sox team. Has just been a difference maker this season.
I 100% agree with you. I think if he does opt out, they need to be in the mix because he's sort of like a mini manager. And when he retires, if he wants to be a manager, he'll get a job because all the reporting is out there. Like Roman Anthony's power surgence here, that's because of something that Bregman showed him with his swing. Giolito pitching better this season or after, starting maybe a little slow and then kind of rounding into form here. Apparently that was Bregman showing Giolito something with his delivery. Like the guy's helping pitching, the guy's helping hitting. When he was injured and he was missing all that time, he was with the iPad with guys showing him things during games. Like he is invaluable in that sense. And with the young core that you have, it's really, really good to have a guy that has World Series rings in that room who's sort of like a second lieutenant for Cora. And then it's not like Cora's the one policing things in the clubhouse. Like when clubhouses sort of police themselves and sort of create their own hierarchies, that's when things can actually, lead to winning. Like that's when chemistry can really take off for a team. So I look at Bregman as being vital for the growth of this team moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I just feel like it would be a bigger loss off the field even than on the field if he were to go elsewhere. And I just feel like with where this team is at and guys still finding themselves at the major league level and really trying to perform up to the level that they need to perform at, just having him to guide some of these guys, I just feel like that's been huge, especially for guys like Roman Anthony and Marcelo Mayer. I know they in particular have really looked up to Alex Bregman and just having his presence around. I just think that's so valuable. And I think the Red Sox hopefully see that too and are going to prioritize at least being in the mix if he does opt out, which I feel like there's a good chance he does, which I don't blame him because I just feel like
his agent is Scott Boras.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is what
Scott Boras is going to say no, try to get more money. Like don't settle, even though they're paying him a good amount now for where you're at now when you could probably get a big payday from somebody. And I do think other teams also, I'm sure, have taken notice of the difference that he's made for some of these younger guys off the field too. So that's going to be attractive to a lot of teams. So I feel like he'll definitely have a lot of suitors this offseason, but I also do know he's enjoyed playing in Boston. And he likes the future of where the Red Sox are at, which I think is the biggest reason why he chose Boston in the first place. So I do think they have that going for them when it comes to negotiations, is he seems to enjoy being here. And I think that that's something that will weigh into his decision, and hopefully the Red Sox can say, we want to keep you here. So here's a bunch more money. And I feel like hopefully he would just say, yeah, I'll take that because I want to stay here. Hope you're enjoying part 2 of my conversation with Tom Carroll of WEEI, and I want to get you right back to that. But first, I want to tell you about a great opportunity that we have here for you. If you love golf, This is the perfect opportunity for you. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the beverage cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5-h-e-win.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Make sure that you enter that, because talk about an opportunity that is. And I know I always say that Locked On Red Sox should be your first listen of every single day, but I have a great second listen for you, because if you're a college football fan, this is the perfect opportunity, because Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. You won't want to miss that, so make sure you check that out after you finish tuning into Locked On Red Sox.
So I think there's also like an element of, I might be getting this wrong, but I think Bregman's wife is going to Harvard in some capacity, taking classes.
I think she is. Yeah.
Yeah. So like maybe there's some off the field stuff there that he really likes. And yeah, he's been vocal about how much he has enjoyed playing in Boston. You look at his career as a hitter before even getting to Boston. When he was playing for Houston, Fenway was one of the parks he was the best at of any park in baseball. Maybe the best hitting park for him was Fenway, outside of what he was able to do at Minute Maid. So yeah, I'm sort of with you. I think that Bregman is leaning towards wanting to come back, but the Red Sox are going to need to be willing to pay up. And we know that hasn't been the case in recent years, post 2018. That just hasn't been the MO of this front office. And look, they had the offseason they did. They got Chapman, they got Bregman, they got Crochet. But it was Crochet on a trade that then led to a deal that's a really good payday for Crochet, but it's not, like what Max Fried got with the Yankees. Yeah. You got Chapman, but that was a 1-year deal. And yeah, they just re-upped him, but it's really not that for that much more money, right? Yeah. And he's 37 years old. And then there's like that club option for that second year of the 2-year thing that they did with him. And then it's Bregman. It's like, cool, 3-year deal, ton of money for AAV, but it's really 3 1-year deals. So they're willing to go get the players. They want the players, but it's not like the Dave Dombrowski way of doing things where it's like, just pay everyone all the time, prospects be damned, get the best players, pay them the most money, and let's win a World Series. Like, that's what Dave Dombrowski did. And that's just not what the Red Sox are doing anymore.
No. And that's why it'd be really hard to picture them offering Alex Bregman some big long-term contract. I just don't really see
And at that age, I don't know that like a huge long-term contract is a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tricky. You hope that maybe this team overperforms and like loses in the ALCS or something, and he kind of gets that juice in him where he's like, okay, like I like what we got going here, like let's just re-up and go. And maybe they give him a little bit of a pay bump in some capacity. Like you're sort of praying for that, because
I kind of hope that he's like set on wanting to stay here and like isn't really as interested in going and like shopping the market, because that is what's going to force them to have to probably, get super uncomfortable and give him a deal that might be a little bit illogical if they really want to keep him, if he really decides I want to explore the open market.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, the way he hits at Fenway to go along with the fact, like when you're at Fenway, when Fenway's right, and it has been the last, 2 months, there's really no other place like it in baseball. Maybe Wrigley when it's right, but Fenway just has this different thing to it. And look, we all watch all these games. When they're playing on the road against good teams, the majority of the park, sometimes it feels like, are Red Sox fans. When they're playing bad teams, the park is empty. Like that series down in Baltimore,
there was nobody there.
It was gross looking in the crowd. So Fenway just has that different thing.
Yards is a great ballpark too.
It really is.
So it was so sad to see that. Like that's probably my favorite park that I've visited, and so it's unfortunate to not fill the seats there because it's really a great ballpark to watch games at.
Yeah, they're really fun. I enjoy going down to Baltimore for games. But I think that Bregman, the mix of how well he plays at Fenway, how far this team can go, and how well this young core performs in the mix with like how awesome the environment is in Fenway. As a guy that like loves baseball and is a competitive guy, I just feel like you want to be a part of that. So
yeah,
you sort of just hope that all kind of rounds into form.
I know. Yeah. And I do agree with you, like where he's at in his career now, you don't want to commit an insane number of years at this point to a guy like him, especially with the young talent that you do have to kind of fill in some of those roles down the road. But yeah, I do agree with you. It's just kind of, you have to hope that he's sold on wanting to stay here because he just loves everything about the experience of playing for the Red Sox. And that, even if you up him a little bit, it doesn't feel like this massive overpay for a guy who, with where he's at in his career, it might be unjustifiable to do something like that. And I feel like the Red Sox will think about it in that way too, of like, we would love for him to stay here, but we're not going to commit, an insane number of years moving forward to a guy like that. And that's why I think the deal that they gave him originally was very team friendly because they said, it's 3 years. We're not committing just the next, decade to him. We're paying him a lot of money to be here and he can be a difference maker for these young players, but it's not like we're, just making all these years be dedicated to having Bregman here. So I think that really worked out for the Red Sox, and you just kind of have to hope that he's like good with that and just wants to stay, because I do, hear him all the time just talking about how much he loves playing here. And I feel like that's something that he'll take into account because he just seems really comfortable with the Boston Red Sox. And it just feels like he just fits in really well with this team. So it's almost like, would he really want to lose that and go elsewhere?
Yeah. And I think that sort of speaks to sort of the power of having a guy like Cora. And like, look, you can fault Cora for some in-game stuff here and there, but part of the reason why you wrap that guy up and make him a part of that power structure is because guys want to play for Cora. And Bregman is here because of Alex Cora. Make no mistake about it. Like, he could have gotten that deal that he got from Boston from another team.
Yeah.
And that's why it stretched so late into spring training. And we know that's how Boris likes to do things. But ultimately, Cora, I think, was the tiebreaker. So
yeah,
it just speaks to the power of having a guy that players like to be around and be coached by in the mix. So a feather in Cora's cap.
Part 2 of my conversation with Tom Carroll of WEEI will be right back. But first, if you're ever looking to score last-minute tickets to any sort of sporting event, concert, comedy show, you name it, Game Time is 100% the perfect place for you because they make sure that you always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. It's so much cheaper than other ticketing vendors. It makes sure you doesn't have an obstructed view from your seat, and it offers such a great inventory of tickets even an hour before the event starts. So if you want tickets to a live event soon, 100% check out Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Game Time 100% will always have you covered and meet your ticketing needs. So next time, use Game Time. People talk about Alex Cora and complain about some of his, in-game decision making, but these players have nothing but great things to say about Alex Cora. And I just feel like that's so important when it comes to a team. I just feel like he's so good for this group. And you want to have a manager like that where the players would go to bat for you and just have nothing but good things to say about you. And I think that's something that sometimes goes unrecognized a little bit among people because they're like, why would Alex Cora have him pitch here? Or why would he pinch hit him? It doesn't make any sense. And it's like, yeah, you can look at that stuff and kind of nitpick some of the like in-game decision making, but the off the field stuff is so important and something that gets disregarded, I feel like. And the way that he is with these players, I just feel like that's so important and it's hard to replace that.
Yeah, I personally almost think that the off the field stuff is more important than the in-game stuff with managers. I think managers in baseball are wildly overrated. That's not a hot take. I think plenty of people have said that. So I personally think it's like clubhouse management and how you can help with talent management as a whole. That's where you can really bring like your true value. But yeah, like the nitpicky stuff with managing baseball, that's the nature of covering baseball. Like there's 162 games. We need to talk about something. Yeah. So, and like when I worked in St. Louis, like the amount of minutia that would go into dissecting every single Cardinals game. And that was when Mike Schilt was there, who I think won NL Manager of the Year, the season that I'm thinking of, 2019. Like we would dissect that guy as if he had never managed a baseball game in his life on a day-to-day basis. And it's like, he was a good manager. That team lost in the NLCS.
Yeah.
He won Manager of the Year, but it's because of just like the nature of the, baseball media industrial complex that like, this is what we do. This is what we have to talk about. But in the grand scheme of things, on a macro level, I think people management is much more important than day-to-day on-field management for managers in baseball.
Yeah, because it's such a long season, and you just need somebody in there who's truly able to connect with these players off the field. And I think that's something that Alex Cora does really well that you don't see from every manager. And I think he deserves a ton of credit for that. And again, like you said, he's the reason that Alex Bregman decided to come to Boston. And so many players have said, I love playing for him. He's just really relatable and he's good at connecting with us. And I just think from a player perspective, that's so important for them. So that's why like people can say what they want to say about Cora, but I personally feel like he's a good fit for this team with his personality and the way that he can relate to these players that he has on this Red Sox team.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly why you want to have a guy like Cora, and that's why he's here. That's why they gave him the money.
Yep, exactly. That's why he was extended too. They really value his presence. So what would you say would be a successful season this year for this Red Sox team? If you were to look back, after the season is over, how would you define a successful season for the Red Sox this year?
World Series or bust. No, I'm kidding. I would say ALDS. Yeah, you believe me for a second. I'll go ALDS. Because I think if we're all realistic, they're probably an arm away. They're probably a bat away. Get into the postseason, go deep in the ALDS. That's a successful season for me. Like I'm not coming out crying if they lose in the ALDS. No. A great season would be an ALCS berth. And then, an ecstatic season would be making it to the World Series. And then I can't even put into words what type of season it would be if this team wins a World Series. I just don't think they're a World Series team. I don't. But those are the levels of excitement for me. It's like get into the ALDS and just see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's fair because I think if you go in and you win a playoff series, then you can say this team actually has grown from what we've seen over the last few years. Like, we can really feel confident that, okay, this team has grown and they have a bright future because they were able to go in there and win a playoff series. Now we've gotten the young players exposure to being in the playoffs, which I think is also going to be a huge thing moving forward. So now it's, okay, let's add a couple pieces to this team and really go for it next year, because, you know, where they're at right now, this season already has been a lot more fun than what we've seen over the last few years. So if they get in and they win a playoff series, that's going to be huge for the future of where this team is at and getting the young guys that exposure that they need to playing on the postseason stage. And I think then we can really say, if they make the right moves this offseason, next year's team genuinely could be a World Series team if they make the right moves this offseason.
Yeah, and if they win a series, that'll show the front office, like, okay, what you've built right now, this is sort of the ceiling of it. So now if you add X and Y, we can kind of get to that next level. And when there's more asses in seats later into the calendar year, you make more money. And that's what the Red Sox ultimately want to do, right? So if you make a deep postseason run, there's going to be more money in your pocket, but you need to spend on the team to make that money. And that's been what we've been saying about this organization the last 5 years, but different conversation for a different day.
No, it's so true though. Yeah, that I could go off about that too, about how they've run this team the last few seasons. But this was an absolute pleasure. Tom, thank you so much for joining me. It was really great having you and just talking some Sox.
Yeah, this was fun, and happy to come back on when the playoff run starts.
I was going to say, yeah, I'll definitely be reaching out again come October here. But thank you, everybody, as always, for tuning in to Locked On Red Sox. Make sure you continue to make it your first listen of every day. Like I always end every show with, Go Red Sox, and I will catch you next time.